Hey everyone, so welcome to First Day with Mr. Sarmiento. Alright, or Mr. S as the screen says on here. So this is going to be a really quick, short, easy PowerPoint. It's just kind of explain who I am, detail you guys a little bit about my past, my history, why I became a teacher, things like that. I always do this the first day of class because everybody gives you a bunch of work typically to do with syllabi and things like that. I like to just introduce myself, let you guys get to know me a little bit and understand how I work and why I have all my weird quirks. So, we're going to go ahead and start it. All right. My early childhood I spent in between Front Royal, Virginia and Stafford, Virginia. I graduated high school in Stafford, technically from two different high schools. So I went to one that was known as Mountain View High School, which I believe is right there on the picture. All right. Mountain View was a brand new high school. Okay, I was the first class of 4 years to go there. However, because I was not the greatest high school student, and I liked to skip class a whole bunch. Sorry, my beard's a little out of control here. I was kicked out of high school my senior year. I was sent to what was known as an alternative high school, kind of like the Sprint program here in Louisa. I went to a place called Turning Point Academy because it was supposed to be a turning point in your life. Yeah, I thought it was as funny as you guys do. So I went to Turning Point, finished all my classwork real quick, real easy, graduated technically out of there in like February of my senior year. So I finished school early. At that point, I worked full time. I loved working. Thought that was way more important than school. And then I attended community college that fall. I went to Germanna Community College and picked up my 2-year degree, known as an associate's, within the 2 years. So graduated from Germanna in 2011. However, because I did some weird stuff at Germanna, I actually ended up graduating with 2 different degrees, and I didn't even realize it until I went to go walk. They asked me which line I wanted to stand in. Did I want to graduate with the general education students, or did I want to graduate with a associate's in science? And I was like, science? So I had no idea that I had 2 degrees until literally the day I graduated. At that point, I transferred up to Marshall University, which is the school in the movie We Are Marshall, true story, all of that good stuff. I went to Marshall to originally study ecology and evolutionary biology. Now, perfect, loved it, love my school. Ecology proved to be a little bit difficult because they stuck me into organic chemistry. I could not do organic chemistry. Blew my mind. Tried it. Couldn't get through it, so I swapped degrees into what was known as environmental science, which is what I ended up getting my bachelor's in. Now, a little bit about Marshall. There's the fountain. All right, it's featured all the time in the We Are Marshall movie. It is a memorial for the plane crash victims that crashed in 1970. For those of you that don't know the story or haven't seen the movie, I highly encourage you to watch it. But the story is in 1970, our football team was flying back from a game at East Carolina University. The plane went down and killed everybody on board. It's the largest tragedy in American sports history. And it wiped out our entire football team. We were left with, I think, a assistant coach and 3 or 4 players that did not travel with the team due to medical reasons. So the following year, in 1970, we fielded the first all-freshman football team. At that point in NCAA and college history, you were not allowed to have freshmen start for your team. We got that rule changed. They allowed us to start a team, and we played with all freshmen. It's an awesome story, big history. It's where the We Are Marshall chant came from, all that good stuff. Here is our football field, the Joan. Awesome stadium to go to. It holds about 30-some thousand people, and to be in that stadium when it's fully packed on like homecoming or whatever, and to hear the We Are Marshall chant, it's a great haunting experience. So, normally I would ask you guys to answer back to me at what you think I did once I graduated high school or college. you guys can't respond actively because this is a recording session. Most people tend to assume that I went straight into the field of teaching. I did not. I actually got a job with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. I began my career as a wildlife biologist. This is me in the summer of 2015, so 5 years ago, working for U.S. Fish and Wildlife, my first term with the service. I was working up in the state of Vermont. Behind me is a beaver dam that is over 6 feet tall because I'm about 5'10", 5'11", and you can see the beaver dam is taller than me. So I got paid to do what I had always dreamed of doing, which was basically walk up and down rivers, monitor them for health, populations, and safety, see how the fish were doing, see how the invertebrates, the crayfish, the amphibians, all of that stuff, how healthy they were being, and if the river was in good terms. My first job with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, as I said, I was a wildlife biologist up in Vermont. Beautiful state. I was about an hour and a half south of Canada. I was looking for an invasive species and doing population control on a species known as the sea lampreys. All right. These are just more pictures of kind of Vermont. And this is what I did for a living. I got to go sit on a boat and walk up and down rivers for 10 hours a day. It was awesome. It was my dream. So just more and more pictures. That's a cool one of me up in a fire watchtower. Some animals, things that you would find out in the field. There's just a red-spotted newt. These are the guys that I was actively trying to find and kill. They are an invasive species. They're known as sea lampreys. They are a parasite, technically. What they do is when they enter this stage, they are considered juveniles. They have their eyeballs at this point. And what they do is they swim down into the lake. Lake Champlain is in Vermont. And they attach themselves to the side of either salmon or lake trout or lake perch. They tend to find whatever fish they can get a hold of. They stick themselves on the side of it. They rub the sucker disc / tongue on the side of it, create a hole, and feed off of their blood and things of that nature. Now, why is that a problem? Is because they can get up to several feet long. Yes, I stuck one on me, for those of you that are wondering that question. It's always that you stick it on like your forehead and you got a little dot there for a little bit. It doesn't hurt too bad as long as you pop them off real quick. The problem with this is states like Vermont get a lot of their income from people coming up to fish because everybody wants to go to Vermont. Everybody wants to go fish for a nice 10, 12-pound lake salmon because it's a gorgeous, tasty fish. I loved catching them. It's quite an experience to do that. But nobody wants to go take and catch that trophy fish. They paid all this money to go up and get the fishing license and to go out and fish on the boat or go out and fish in the middle of the lake and find it's got a $50 size hole in the side of it and one of these suckers hanging off of it. They don't like that too much. So our job was to try and remove them and curb that population down because they were just constantly growing and growing and growing and getting bigger and bigger and being a bigger and bigger nuisance. My favorite day on that job, I will tell you right now, my favorite night of work was in Vermont. It's the best day I've ever had of work. I worked about a 20-hour shift, so I was tired, but I got to go out on the boat in November. Mind you, it's Vermont. We're an hour and a half south of Canada. And I got to electroshock, which means I put electricity into the water to shock and sample fish populations. And we electroshocked for salmon. And it was the coolest thing I've ever done. I was hauling up salmon about like 10 to 5 in each net full. Awesome experience. I got done with it. I had icicles hanging off my face and my beard. I've never had a day like that. It was the most fun I've ever had in my entire life. The temperature that night was 5 degrees. Standing. That doesn't count wind chill or anything else. Most fun I've ever had though. So, after that contract ended, because Fish and Wildlife tends to put you on these kind of short-term contracts, I moved back home to Louisa, where my parents were living, lived with them for a few months, and then I applied for more jobs in Fish and Wildlife. I got a job offer, and I was able to move out into Arizona, and then I got also a job offer down in West Virginia, which is where I went to school at. So I took the one in West Virginia just because it was a little closer, easier for me to kind of move. It's not so easy to move across the country. And I started working at White Sulphur Springs National Fish Hatchery. The fun part of that was the week I started was also the week they had a 1,000 or 10,000 year flood event. Wiped out the entire hatchery. We lost 50,000 rainbow trout in the first week of work, and I spent the first month of my job cleaning. And what do you have to clean after a 1,000-year flood? Everything. Everything gets put into the rivers. Everything gets left on the land. We had chunks of concrete get moved out of the way. Our buildings literally were lifted and shifted out down to other places. I watched a river that is about 15 to 20 feet wide carry a house on fire down it. So, big destruction, big events, one of the scariest things I've ever been a part of. Now, what you see here in this picture is good old Sarmiento right here in the middle. Once again, 4 years ago, a little bit younger, a little bit cuter. This is me after a river cleanup. So, like the good old boys and the hoots and hollers and out in the creeks in West Virginia, I was asked and would volunteer my time to go and clean out the rivers to try and get them healthy again. What you see behind me are tires and everything we hauled out of the river that day. All that brown stuff is a mixture of not only mud, but poo-poo. Alright? For some reason, people like taking chunks of crap, literally poop, and chucking it into the rivers. I smelled horrendous, but you know what? I loved every second of what I was doing because I was paid to work outdoors and clean up nature, which is what I'm all about. This one hit a newspaper somewhere. That's me, and this was the boat I was escorting. I picked up all this trash in about 300 yards worth of river. So that's 3 football fields long. And this is what I picked up. Not to mention the 30 other people that were working with us that day. I did not have room in my boat anymore. I had to just walk the entire river. So you can see just how much trash there is. Why human beings think that tires belong in rivers is something I will never figure out. And in Vermont, the rivers were much cleaner and much more pristine, yet we would always find tires in it. So, I'm telling you guys right now, whatever you do, whenever you grow up, do not chuck your tires into the river. Why? Why? Tires don't belong there. I know you guys think that it's a natural habitat, that the tires were born in the river. They are not. Don't put them in there. So, because of who I am, I like to have fun and goof off. So in West Virginia, what I was actually tasked with doing there when my job kind of calmed down and I wasn't having to pick up everything after a flood event, I was asked to monitor stream connectivity and stream health. So we were trying to get rainbow and brook trout back into their natural habitats. So I got to crawl through a bunch of these things known as culverts and see if the stream could connect, if there was an impasse. Fish don't do great at jumping up a couple feet and crawling through dry tubes. I know that's news to you guys, but what they need is easy to access to get back into the upper streams where these fish like to breed and spawn at. So this one I crawled through as well. Yes, it was scary. I got about halfway through, turned on my flashlight, and I looked everywhere, and there were spiders everywhere. I think this is the one that I got bit by a brown recluse, and it turned my whole leg purple. But that's a story for another day. Cool things I found. So this is a incredibly rare, like once in a billion lifetime opportunity. This was an all-black copperhead morph, known as a melanastic copperhead. I show this to all my snake friends because that's originally what I went to study, and what I specialize in is snakes, and no one has ever seen one in the wild. It was only me, and I picked him up with my hands. I don't recommend doing that if you're not a snake specialist, and moved him out of the road because of just what a fantastic organism, awesome critter he was. This is more of West Virginia. This is up in the New River area. Really pretty spot in West Virginia. Absolutely love it. It's a great place to go hiking, but once again, I was paid to go out and go monitor these rivers. What an awesome, awesome job I had. So, after that, I ended up being 27. I needed health insurance. I'm a type 1 diabetic, so I decided to take up teaching. And that's where I'm at today. Some of my hobbies and the weird oddities about me is I'm an avid guitar player. I absolutely love music. If we were having real in-class persons, you would hear music in my room almost all the time. Almost always am I playing something. I'm a huge, huge sports fan. I know I look like a big nerd, and I am a big nerd, but I grew up playing football. I traveled to Colorado when I was like 7 or 8, and I camped across the entire state, fell in love with it. So I'm a Denver everything fan. So go Broncos, go Rockies, go Rapids, go Avs, go Rockies, go Nuggets, and go Mammoths. Yeah. Denver everything, and Colorado everything. As you may have figured out, I'm a bit of an animal guy. So some of these photos are just the different pets that we own, both myself and my family. That's Seamus. He's an old English bulldog, really awesome. This is Misty. She was born in my hands. I helped birth this cat. She is a space cadet, as we like to say. Going on, this is Surprise. The reason why he is named Surprise is because when Misty was born with her siblings, we got done that night and we were like, cool, everybody's been born, good to go. Had a friend, because this was when I was in high school, had a friend come over the next day because she wanted to adopt one once they got old enough to leave the house. And we were holding one. She was like, "How many did you say you had again?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, we had four babies." And she was like, "But are you sure?" And I looked in her hand, she had one, and I had one. And I looked back in the pen, the litter nest, and counted, and I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, Surprise was born in the middle of the night. We don't know when. He is a giant, scaredy cat. Some of my other weird animals. Jesse, I have an African Gray. He likes to repeat everything I say, and not all the time do I have a teacher's mouth. I might say some inappropriate words every now and then, and those are his favorite ones to pick up. He also likes to tell me to pick up my shoes constantly, and he calls for my younger brother to get his butt up and ready for school. Milo is our blue and gold macaw. She's a sweet pea to me. She actively hates my girlfriend with a passion. Like, will chase her and get off the cage and run after her. She thinks that she's my mate. So I think that her viewing on Jessica is that Jess is a threat to her in my relationship. I haven't told Milo I'm not a burden, that we can't be lovers. She'll figure it out one day. Ursula was my first cat I ever adopted. She is a Sphinx. She is born naked. She came from France. She always looks like she's angry at the world, and it's just her face. All right. She is sweet as can be. Really calm, nice cat. And then this year, during COVID, I adopted this little girl. This is Yzma. She is also a Sphinx. She's just a wee baby. She'll be 5 months this Saturday, August 15th. So, she's just a little girl right now still. Adorable. Way cuter looking than Ursula. As you can tell, Ursula's a little angry in some of these photos, looking still sweet. This is when I woke her up. This is Yzma at her first vet appointment. See, how can you hate that? She's adorable. No, they don't feel like sweaty skin. They feel like peach fuzz. It's really interesting. And then I have Floyd. Yeah, Floyd's a pig. I have a pet pig. He was pink when he was a baby, so we named him Floyd because, hey, Pink Floyd, rock on, man. He used to live indoors. He's now transitioned to the outside, where he is much happier and much better suited to live life. This is my girlfriend, Jessica, who I have a house with now. And then this is her son that I will hopefully adopt here at some point in the near future, Jameson. So that's my little happy family, guys. In terms of things that I also do at the school, I'm the head coach of our esports program. Please reach out to me if you have any interest in that. I'm always looking for new kids, new faces. Last year we placed in the state quarterfinals and for Rocket League, and then before the summer season or spring season ended because of COVID, we were number 2 in the state. So looking up for it. And our Smite team is absolutely ridiculously good. If you play League of Legends, though, I desperately need more kids for that, and I would love to have you on our team. In addition to that, I coach and help coach Envirothon here at the school, which is an environmental science competition team. This was our team from 2 years ago because last year, obviously, everything was shut down. They placed second in the state. They came about 6 points short of winning states, and the team that won states ahead of us ended up winning the international competition. Love these kids. We still keep in contact with them all the time. They text me regularly. Some of the best people I've ever taught and worked with. So just more photos of our Envirothon team. As you can see, we're a bunch of weirdos. We love animals, we love nature, and we love learning. So if you're interested in that, once again, let me know and reach out to us. Here are all of our awards that we won that year at states. Doing great things. So that's me. Welcome to Science with Mr. S. It's going to be a fun year, guys. I cannot wait for it.